Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here on this Friday. Just wanting to recap some of the top stories from the First Alert Safety Desk on this week. So some major ones you're seeing on your screen. These are just a few of the several stories that I covered this week. That first one, products that say no added sugar might contain it under a different name. So we'll talk about those sneaky sugars, and then also how to escape a sinking vehicle with everything that happened in Baltimore and the bridge. We really were talking about what would happen if something like that were to happen to you. New phishing attack also targeting iPhone users, Apple users, and then any other stories that you've missed or maybe you thought and you saw, all at WBAY.com. All you have to do is go to the Safety Desk tab. It's super easy. You'll find all the stories there. There's also the link to every story, every study that I talk about too, and if there's a recall, things like that. That first one that I'll show you on our website. Actually, we're going to cut to here. Safety Desk tab right here under WBAY.com, which I just mentioned. So we'll talk about that no added sugar story first and foremost, and here's some of the details. You can kind of scroll through because you've got to double check some of those nutritional labels that say no added sugar, especially if you're worried about your blood sugar or insulin levels, and you see the list right here. Dietitians remind you that too much sugar can lead to weight gain and, of course, put you at risk for type 2 diabetes, things like heart disease, health issues. So how can you tell if sugar is in a product? So right here, fructose, sucrose, dextrose, fruit juice concentrate, beet sugar, there's rice syrup, there's honey. That's what you need to look for, because some of those sneaky sugars show up in places you might not expect. If you're ever unsure what something in the ingredients is, just look it up online. A lot of the time you might have your cell phone at the grocery store. Again, this is something that you're concerned about. Health experts want you to know that it's important that not all food contains sugar is bad for you, because there's still, of course, foods with fiber that are sugary, like fruit. So those make a big difference, especially if they have fiber. That's what's really important, and something that we covered at the First Alert Safety Desk this week. Another story was, we talked about the Baltimore Bridge and that tragedy there. And a lot of people top of mind, and you can see some of the coverage that we had throughout the week this week with those two people that were identified. This kind of expanded it a little bit, with a lot of people thinking about what would happen if they were trapped. And this is the morning show, Action 2 News this morning. Emerson and I talking a little bit about this. You could see that horrific bridge collapse in Baltimore. A lot of people talking about that and what would happen. So again, some of those safety tips here. It was pretty interesting to see that hundreds of people die in submerged vehicles in the U.S. each year. When it happens, first responders are already behind in that rescue. So that was a really big factor that I took away too, is just that you have to think quickly and you have to think ahead of time for something like this if it were to happen. So some of the tips that I saw from safety experts, only some of the several things that you could do. First and foremost, you need to be able to unbuckle your seatbelt somehow, and if you still have power, roll down your window, get that door open before the vehicle is fully submerged if you can. And we have on our website, WBAY.com, the whole story here, but it might seem counterproductive to let water into a sinking vehicle, but the water pressure outside the car will make opening the door more difficult later. As a last resort, you need to somehow break a window. We were talking about that this week as well. We showed a website where you could get one of those window breakers that have the sharp edge. They're called window punches, and they also, some of them have a seatbelt cutter that would be really handy for you to have right in your car door on the side. That was another big thing, is you also need to know where to find it. That's really, really important. So we were chatting about that this week and talking about that, especially after what happened in Baltimore. So if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for being here. We're talking about the top stories from the First Alert Safety Desk this week, in case you missed any of them. And if you're watching right now, make sure you tune in and say good morning. Good morning to you, Jody. Thank you for being here per usual. So yep, just recapping some of those big stories before I go back upstairs and do Action 2 News mid-morning. Catherine is out on spring break right now. Another story that I talked about Let me get to the website here again. Is a phishing scam, a scam that's targeting Apple users. It's called MFA bombing. Here's some of the information right here. But again, we have everything at WBAY.com. I'm going to pull up some of our information. So again, if you use an iPhone or iPad, you could become the target of this pretty elaborate and not to mention annoying scam, to be honest with you. It's called MFA bombing. It stands for multi-factor authentication. So you'll get pop-up after pop-up, and you see it right here, actually. This is a really good example. Do you see all of those where it says reset password over and over and over again? You shouldn't be getting those constantly, all at once like that. If you're not expecting it, it's probably a scam. And if you're seeing them over and over and over again, they're doing it on purpose. These scammers are getting smarter. It is pretty elaborate. It'll also most likely come with a phone call, is another thing that officials want you to know. They'll be calling, pretending to be from Apple technical support. They're even going to walk you through how to set it up. You don't want to do that. Obviously, it's a scam. So they want to take your password. They want to take access to all of your Apple account and your private information, your sensitive information that leads to bank records, your bank account, and everything else that we use every day. So be careful with that. Again, it's the pop-up scam. The more you respond, whether it's on your phone, tablet, computer, because we have all these different Apple products, the more you're giving out that personal information. So make sure you go to WBAY.com and click on this story if you want to know a little bit more. It goes a little bit more into depth about the phone number even, what you can do, and any other tips that we might have missed here. But I just want to put a little bug in your ear about this because that was a big deal. So many people, of course, have iPhones, so that was a huge deal. But other stories that we did throughout the work week this week on WBAY.com, Safety Desk tab, like I just showed you, there were some other stories this morning. I also did a story about meningitis cases, a certain type of meningitis case that is going up in the U.S. It's a rare but serious bacterial infection. So they're seeing more and more cases. CDC actually sending out an alert to doctors, making sure that they look for certain symptoms that they didn't expect, especially in middle-aged people and not so much children. More on that sinking vehicle. There was also a story about counterfeit postage stamps, which I thought was pretty interesting, and a few others. So make sure you tune into WBAY.com constantly because we're always posting stories. And I know a lot of you are following the Elijah Vu story as well. So we've had updates, and actually that is the top story right now on our website. Not necessarily a safety desk this week from what I covered, but it is a big talker. I'm trying to go to the website itself so you could see the main page here. You can see that Elijah Vu, the family, organizing a search this morning after yesterday's big law enforcement driven and wide-scale drone effort from yesterday. So there's more on that. And if you missed our Action 2 News this morning live stream, check that out. We always have a lot of fun after the morning show. And to get to that, if you ever are curious, you can watch all of our newscasts right here, watching live. Our newscasts, or even the live stream, or even what we're doing right now is right there on our website if you're just watching on Facebook. So make sure you follow along. We'll keep you posted on other stories that are happening throughout the day that you see right here on our homepage. Have a great weekend and happy Easter.